Since its inception in 1956, the TAB Melbourne Cup has grown in stature to affirm its position at the top of the greyhound racing world. It's the one every owner, breeder and trainer wants to win. And not just because of the $435,000 winner's cheque. You see, the Melbourne Cup is more than just money. It's the prestige, knowing that you've won the world's greatest greyhound race. It's also one of the hardest races to win. You have to have the perfect mix of speed, strength and determination, as proven by the Honour Roll, which boasts more stars than the night sky. Over the years, we have seen some fairy tale finishes, like the Bartolos, who bred and trained the Quinella in 2006, the winner named after Diane's late mother.
And Betty's Angel skipped away, 6 lengths to Miss Minnie Mouse. Laurie Banner followed by Right Way, running a button to the outside, but Betty's Angel is sweeping away to win the Melbourne Cup by 5 lengths. Miss Minnie Mouse second to Kennel Quinella.
The race has also seen its share of controversy. Who could forget that finish back in 2008?
Up to the turn and Hannah Fire's Impact. Can she do it? Highly blessed done. She turned in front. Surgeon late. Surgeon goes to Hannah Fire's Impact. Surgeon's won it.
Punters have cheered home plenty of favourites in the Cup.
Was Go Wild Teddy turning for home, having a crack at a classic Capri, but it's Go Wild Teddy in front. Go Wild Teddy wins the Cup.
The favourites won for home clear. It's Aston DB's TAB Melbourne Cup.
But we have also seen some roughies take home the title.
Into the home straight though, Classic Capri well clear. Classic Capri wins the Melbourne Cup.
Turning for home, it's Ando's Mac by 2. Jesselenko's coming. Jesselenko times to Ando's Mac, but Ando's Mac won it.
It's been a race where youngsters have announced their arrival on the biggest stage of all.
About 6 lengths out in front of Devon Road, Flying Law, then Faith Org into the straight though. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen. A super spreader, Candan Bar, wins the Cup by 4 lengths. But around the corner, Dinah Villa wins the TAB Melbourne Cup.
Where current stars of the sport have continued their dominance.
Bombastic Shiraz exploded around the outside and hit the lead in the Cup now. Bombastic Shiraz race cleared.
It's El Gran Senor a mile in front in the Melbourne Cup. The reigning Top Gun winner is going to add the Melbourne Cup to the mantelpiece with a brilliant winner.
My Redeemer swung for home in front. 3 clear of Black Opium and My Redeemer won the Cup.
And where champions have become immortals.
But Hayley Blessed is serving. She's about 3 or 4 lengths out in front of a Black Pirate. Going through on the inside is Sing Along, but Hayley Blessed racing away. The favourite wins the Cup.
But there's no doubting this champion Rapid Journey, and he bolts in the Schweppes Melbourne Cup.
But no matter the backstory, the TAB Melbourne Cup is always an exhilarating event.
Into the straight, Fernando Val first for home. Dinah double one closes. Dinah double one, baby, got Fernando Val on the line in the Cup.
Like every year, the 2019 race is set to be nothing short of exceptional. But who will etch their name alongside the greats when the lids fly open?
Racing the Cup.
It's quite an honour roll, and it's a race, and that is absolutely etched in history, isn't it? Just watching you two gentlemen here, watching that vision there, and young Jace has been to the Cup on track more than you.
Absolutely. Well, he does live in Mexico. It's a bit easier.
Mexico.
Yeah, that's what we call you up here, Mexicans. Who's your favourite winner out of all those?
Dinah Double. I think it's clearly the best Melbourne Cup. Well, anyway, of recent memory, and holds the race record. But if it's ever going to be broken, it's this time around.
I'd have to say Rapid Journey. Look, I mean, there've been faster dogs than Rapid Journey, but I think he's the best race dog I've ever seen.
Well, it counts a lot, doesn't it? All right, let's have a look at the market and also the runner, each runner throughout the field. And we'll start from box number 1 in just a moment. But let's have a look at the latest market. Hooked on Scotch, $1.95. Now, went up $1.90. It hit $2 momentarily this afternoon, back into $1.95. It's probably only up for about an hour or so. I think it was on the $2 line. The best supported runner in the race has been Campini. $8 into $5 upon opening. We've got Whiskey Riot. It's a $6 chance. Whiskey Riot's been solid at that $6 quote throughout the betting. Get It Gizmo 8, Flynn 8, Shimmer Shine the first reserve at $8.50. Second reserve is Simon Told Helen, and then we've got Western Envoy is the outsider in the field. Campini is the first run we'll look at.
Just a quick comment about the the market. what I find a bit strange about it is pre-box draw, Hooked on Scotch was $1.80. He's come up with a draw that you would have thought he wanted, and now he's a better price. Campini was $15 pre-box draw, and I think I actually said to the boys on the night, we should have something on this. So 100 to 1 if he draws the pink, but if he draws box 1, he's going to be a $5 chance, and that's what he is.
And that's what he is. And then that move happened immediately after the box draw, and of course he goes into box number 1, and he's drawn perfectly. The favourite, Hooked on Scotch, is drawn perfectly. We'll have a look at the speed map here on screen, and look, how's this going to play out? Hooked on Scotch, we know he can go 5.10. We heard from Jason Thompson last week say probably can expect him to get out a bit better, but of course there's going to be a fair bit of pace down towards the rail. Yeah,
look, I said as much on Perth Radio on Monday. I think there's been a bit of a misconception with him that he's a slow beginner or he's only a moderate beginner, Hooked on Scotch. I mean, if you take it, obviously the race in Adelaide, he didn't begin brilliantly, but I mean, he's lobbed second in a Geelong Cup against some of the fastest dogs in the land. He went the fastest first section the entire Speed Star meeting. He went 5.11 there last week and wasn't brilliantly away from the boxes, wasn't he? But his work from halfway down the straight of the winning post was exceptional. And I think I'm not saying he's going to lead initially, but I think by the time they run out of the straight the first time, especially the way he used the pink last week, I think he's going to be just about in front.
You're right, and it's not that box speed where he really pings at the front, it's more so his acceleration, and when he gets the chance to do that, box 8 again, he's going to get exactly that.
All right, let's have a look at the performance of Campini. Probably surprised a few people last week. It's around the $7 chance.
Yeah, look, in many respects, I think the surprising thing is not that he was good enough to win, or that he could run 29.26, or that he could beat Shimmer Shine. It was just the way he came away from the boxes, because more often than not, Patch, he's a slow beginner. He wants to crash to the fence. He can definitely win. He's got the draw he wants. The big question is, can Lightning strike twice? Can he come out as well as he did here 2 weeks in a row?
If he does, he's in the box seat, and we thought he'd make the race for Shimmer Shine last week. He just about did. Only problem was for Shimmer Shine that Campini got out that well, that he was right on his tail, and from there we knew he was going to get home a bit better. So you're right, he's desperate for the fence, so box number 1 is exactly what he's after.
All right, let's have a look now at Get It Gizmo winning last week. 20 was the time as well, 29.26, and running from box 4.
And we'll see him here get away, and look, he did take a little bit of a step right, but I don't think that's something he's going to do week in, week out. I think because the 3 sort of got under him early, there was room on his outside, that's why he took it. And as we've seen take over here down the back straight, it's probably underrated that he's got home in 10.37. If you're not familiar with run home times at Sandown, that's just under a length of what Hooked on Scotch got home in. So his ability certainly it's not underrated. We all know how good he is, but in terms of his strength, it was an outstanding performance last week.
Yeah, he gave plenty of notice to that during the $1 Million Chase series at Wenning. I think he came home in 10.49 and 10.50 in his 2 wins there, which again are completely off the Richter. Box 2, yeah, it looks a good draw for him.
All right, it's that current price. What are your thoughts there?
About right.
About right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, next runner we're going to have a look at is Whiskey Riot, winning last week. Now, Whiskey Riot jumped from box number 2, 29.33.
Yeah, and his PB's 29.26, which is quite astonishing because Campini went 26 last week, Get It Gizmo went 26 last week, Flynn went 26 last week, Whiskey Riot's PB's 29.26, and the 4 dogs on the inside have all got exactly the same PBs, which is extraordinary. Look, just a professional win here. In the run, you only wanted to be on 1 dog. He was always going to run the leader down. Look, coming away from box 2, almost box 1 there on Friday night, I guess is a little bit of a negative, but he's in great form.
He's in great form, he's beginning well and at the right time of the year, and he's drawn pretty well in box number 3, but it's all about what gets out around him really. Like, we know he's going to begin, but his race probably depends on what those do on his immediate inside and out.
All right, Flynn is the next runner we're going to have a look at. We've been speaking about Flynn for the last 3 weeks or so and made it all the way into the finals. About $31 when we started looking pre-preludes.
Yeah, absolutely. The 2 things that have been noticeable with his wins at Sandown recently, Patches, that incident just there at the first turn, he's wanted to duck up the track, hasn't he, in both his recent wins there. Look, I think of all the greyhounds in the race, and Hooked on Scotch included, I think he's still got the most improvement left in him, and I would use the times that he's run recently to prove that point. 29.43 he went, sorry, 29.42 he went 2 weeks ago, 29.28 last week, so improved 3 lengths from that run to that run. And his PB, surprisingly enough, is 3 lengths quicker than what he went last week. So if he's even got 2 lengths worth of improvement left in him, it's going to be pretty hard to beat.
You're right, you spoke about how he got off a little bit at that first turn. It seems to be just at the apex, he just wants to get a little bit wide, which isn't disastrous if no one's on your outside, but in this sort of race where the pressure's really going to be on, and you mentioned that improvement week to week from the prelude to the heat, he's still won 5.08 both weeks in the final.
Absolutely.
So if he does that again, he's right in the thick of it, and he's going to be relying on a bit of luck.
As far as his age and how much racing he's had in recent months, Jace, would you have a concern with that at all, or do you think it arrives,
No, I think he's just about cherry ripe.
Ripe, yep.
He's been with Jason Thompson now for, 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Third run up here. He's ready to peak. There's no question about that.
Yeah, all right, that's very interesting. Western Envoy is one of the outsiders in the race. It's been $15 out to 34, but it did qualify last week, winning from box number 5.
It was some win too, as you saw. He wasn't brilliantly away. He worked it out amazingly in the early stages. 29.58. We know he can go quicker than that patch. He can go, he's gone 32 there, but he has run in the 30s a couple of times. He'd need to lead and lead clear. Well, I don't know that he'd need to lead clear. If he led, he'd be pretty hard to run down, but whether he can get to that spot.
It was a professional win, this one we saw last week. He had to make decisions. He made the right decisions and proved too good in the end, but he's not a type to ping to the front. We've seen him get out quite well, and he's drawn out wide on the track in box number 8, but box 5, where the pressure's really going to be on. I know at the box draw on Sunday, there was 2 boxes left, 1 and 5. Unfortunately for Connections, they got number 5, so he needs to do absolutely everything right on Friday night.
Yeah, okay. Well, drawn next door will be at Jarrow Bale in box number 6 on a Friday night. Again, got through last week, 29.5.
Yeah, the draw was obviously a massive plus to him here. He's not overly endowed with a lot of early speed, and he's got a tricky draw to contend with. No doubt he's good enough, but whether the circumstances have conspired against him here from box 6, it's going to be pretty tough.
It's going to be tough. I know Tom Daly was really happy with his performance last week of Jarrow Bale from box number 1, but look, similar sort of circumstance to Western Envoy. We know these two are very slick operators, they're very good free-for-all performers, but to draw poorly in this race where the pressure's really going to be on, again, like we said with Western Envoy, everything's got to go right for Jarrow Bale.
All right, Oakvale Beauty is the outsider in the field. Let's have a look at its last performance in the heat. Now, Jace, can you give it any place chance even? $51.
It's going to be hard. I mean, herein lies why boxes are so important. I mean, if she had the red where she's 6 from 6 patch, she's probably an $8 or $9 chance maybe. But from box 7, I would have thought she's right up against it.
And further to that, she's had 11 career wins. 10 of them have come from boxes 1 and 2. So I think that says a lot, not only racing week to week, but again, we've said a number of times here tonight, the pressure's really going to be on, and does she have the pace to lead? Probably not, and look, she's going to need to be able to and sort of turn everything around to be able to win this.
All right, and of course the final runner we'll have a look at is the favourite, Hooked on Scotch, and just take a look at this. Breaks the track record last Friday night and jumps from that box 8 again this week.
Yeah, in conditions that weren't conducive to track records. I particularly love the way he used the box. He didn't crash over. He basically just etched his way over patch. There was still room between he and the next widest dog when they got to the first turn, which makes me think that he's going to give himself room again here on Friday night. I think the key thing, look, he's won 4 races there. This, 29.09, 29.11, 29.16. Only Flynn has gone quicker than his slowest win.
And the box draw is going to be key. You speak about him and not wanting to really drift hard down to the fence, and he's not going to do that. Again, we know he's going to hold his line. He's drawn to perfection. I guess if there's a concern you're going to raise about his run to the first split, and we've probably saw it in 2015 with Fernando Bale, where if the crowd's big and making a lot of noise, it can be difficult to hear the lure. So that's the only question mark I'd put on it. But if he was, in that case, Wiz, to half miss the start in terms of, I guess, what could happen if he did settle second or third, he's still not out of it. He's still the strongest dog in the race.
Yep. What would your biggest concern be with it?
Well, that he's not as well away as he can be. But look, as I said, he's gone 5.06, 5.18, 5.10, 5.11. So the slowest he's come away there at Sandown's been 5.18, and that 5.18 is when he copped a couple of checks in the run of the first turn. So I think he's a 5.10 dog to the first mark every day of the week. And when you compare that to the splits from last week, well, Flynn's gone 5.08. He's only gone a half a length quicker than him.
And then in Geelong as well, you mentioned that before, he got out quite well and almost led a field of what were
only Running Royalty led him, and Running Royalty is one of the fastest dogs in Victoria, over 400 metres, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And look, the way the form lines up at the moment, it's really hard to see Hooked on Scotch making mistakes. If he doesn't make a mistake, and if he is settling right up front early on, good luck. Fastest greyhound on the planet, it's no doubt.
All right, I think we know what we're going to hear with the selections from the team. We've had the preludes, the heats. We're now at the big dance. Who takes it out?
I think the favourite will win, Hooked on Scotch. I'd be pretty confident as well. I think he'll win. I think Flynn's his main danger. Not a great draw on paper, but 508, 508 the last 2 weeks, that has him crossing the three dogs inside of him. And as I said, I still think he's got a bit of improvement left in him. And if he finds those couple of lengths, he'll certainly give the favourite something to chase. Campini's beautifully drawn. His record in big races is not great, however. He's never won a feature race, and he's never really strung 2 brilliant begins back to back, but we know he's got the ability, and I've left Whiskey Riot there for 4th. Look, I could have easily flicked Get It Gizmo in there. I don't think there's much between Get It Gizmo and Whiskey Riot, but yeah, for me, it'll be a favourites cup.
Jace, the price there, mate, $1.95. What price do you think it'll start at?
Look, I think they will take risks with him to a certain extent, but this dog's got a profile now. You know, we talk about Feral Frankie and his profile, but look, I can tell you amongst the rank and file that don't necessarily follow grain racing all the time, they know about this dog as well, and I'd say they'll back him to a man.
All right, Patch.
I've gone with Hooked on Scotch. I just think it's hard to take him on. If he draws box 4 or 5, you probably do take him on and look for a bit more value, but from box number 8, we saw last week, it was the key to him producing exactly what he's capable of. That was a Metropolitan track record. It was absolutely outstanding. And again, it's hard to see him making mistakes for us not to see a similar performance that we saw in his heat. Second away with number 1, Campini. We speak about how well Hooked on Scotch is drawn. Campini's drawn to perfection. He wants the fence. If he begins just as well as what he did last week, he's right in the race. Third, number 3, Whiskey Riot. Just racing so well at the right time of the year. And 4th, number 2, Get It Gizmo. We saw his run last week. Very strong. He's just as good as all of these, probably excluding Hooked on Scotch, but it's just all the matter of how well he gets away. So very hard to take on Hooked on Scotch, Joss.
All right, yeah, well, it's going to be fascinating. Let me ask you this. Very hard to sort of break track records week on week. What do you think a winning time's going to be thereabouts?
You'll always find that the times in big races aren't always that quick. I mean, the exception to that this year, well, there has been an exception to that this year because we saw the track record get broken in the Brisbane Cup when Seneke won. Yep. And we saw Good Odds Dorado go one of the fastest times at Wentworth Park in many years when he won the $1 Million Chase. If we get good conditions there in Melbourne on Friday night...
He tells us we will.
And he tells us we will, but he tells me that all the time.
Sun's always shining in Melbourne.
Absolutely. Then look, he could go quicker. I think he's capable of going quicker, which is extraordinary. But
in a big race,
there's a lot of pressure, and you know whether it works out like that.
Yeah. What? Echo those thoughts?
I think so. If conditions are better than last week, he breaks it again. I think if he puts together the same sort of run, we see him leading. You mentioned earlier in the week that if we did see those sort of conditions that we saw in the second Prelude series, take a couple of lengths off. I know it's scary to think that, but this is what this greyhound's capable of.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, Canton Bale, 20 years ago, if Hooked on Scotch was to win on Friday night, it will be the youngest dog since Canton Bale in 1999. And as we go to a break, let's have a look at its performance.
Racing the Cup, Unfaithful Hook, a little bit slow to begin away, very fast, Flying Law out in the centre, going very fast as Canton Bale around the outside and going to the back straight now. Canton Bale found the lead, Canton Bale 4 lengths in front, Devon Road second, Faithful Hook the inside, wider out as Flying Law, then Edawaz followed by Moonabel Tiger, then came Awesome Havoc, last would have been Miss Tanzine. Canton Bale exploded about 6 lengths out in front of Devon Road, Flying Law, then Faithful Hook into the straight though. Put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, a super spreader, Canton Bale wins the Cup by 4 lengths.